Hello, and welcome to Connecting Tucson with Jaime Overturf, broadcasting from the Tucson Business Channel, a division of Mark Bishop Media, situated in the Stewart Title corporate offices on Broadway in Tucson, Arizona. Connecting Tucson is all about connecting our community, local businesses, and organizations to help our community grow and thrive. Today, we're going to be talking with Christi Ahl, an intuition development coach, speaker, and a #1 international best-selling author and facilitator. Christi was raised in Fallbrook, California, where she was accepted into the New Mexico Institute. After that, she graduated from the Everest University, summa cum laude, with a bachelor's of science in criminal justice and a focus in investigations. Afterwards, she went into the criminal justice field. However, she's always been fascinated with the metaphysical studies. Throughout her criminal justice career, she grew her intuition through reading books, attending local classes, and practicing with friends and family, and decided to make a switch. She is now focusing her passion as an intuition development coach, speaking and facilitating to individuals and groups nationally and internationally. Of course, that's just a brief glimpse of this wonderful woman and what we will dive into more. But you are truly an inspiration. And oh my goodness, wow. Thank you so much for coming on the show with Connecting Tucson. I don't know what to say after that. I feel like I've done nothing. But it seems like you've come a long way from your original path or where you had originally thought you were going to go. Mm-hmm. But you seem a lot happier now. I know I briefly told our listeners about you as I stumbled through that introduction and your journey, but can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your original working career as a private investigator to a parole officer and now an intuition development coach and speaker?
Sure. It actually started well before I went to New Mexico Military Institute. I had this drive and this passion to join the Air Force and be a fighter pilot.
Really?
Yeah. I was all in. As a kid, I built model airplanes. I was into the fine details of things and painting them. And so I set my sights. I said, well, you know, my family wouldn't let me move to Texas to go to military school. Oh. So they said, well, we'll compromise. You can go to New Mexico. And so I went to New Mexico under the impression that I would go on to the Air Force Academy so that I could, you know, follow my dreams. I mean, that's what we all want, follow our dreams. And so I got through military school, did my 3 years, graduated. In that process, found out that, well, at that time, yeah, you can look at me. I'm really short.
You're not that short. You should see my mom.
I know. I'm 5'2". So at that point, there was sight restriction and height restriction. So we're talking about like late 80s, early 90s, and there are far more restrictions for women in the military and that kind of thing. So that really just washed my dreams, unfortunately. Right. So I thought, well, what's interesting and where can I, use my energy in a good way? Investigations have always been interesting to me. You know, you watch the murder mystery shows on TV and you're just like, oh, I know who did it, and you try and figure it out. And so that's always been a draw. Mm-hmm. Asking questions, finding out more, investigating. And part of me, before I went to Everest to get my degree in criminal justice, part of me was like, I know I have tapped into my intuition. I know that's part of who I am. Mm-hmm. I wasn't very far along my growth at that point, but I knew it was an essential part of me. And so I really sought out a career that would allow me to use my intuitive gifts under the guise of normal.
Or what's perception of normal.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. And so I was like, that's it. Criminal investigations. I love to ask questions. It's interesting to me. People interest me, so I thought, okay, I can fit this into the box of, being a normie, as we say, and also use my intuition. And so that pushed me. And I got my degree, and at that point, we still had kids in the house. And so it was very challenging to be full-time mom, full-time student, still working, all the things.
Yes,
all the things.
All the things.
Yes. And so I completed it in 3 years and was like, okay, I'm going to go out into the workforce. And at that point, I was able to obtain a position at a 4-county jail as a pretrial investigator.
Nice.
Yeah. But it was part-time.
Okay.
And it was at night.
Oh.
Right. And so all the scenarios can probably float around in your brain about what happens at a jail at night. Yeah. So I got to see all that.
Oh, jeez. We'll have to talk later.
Yeah. It was I got stories. It was very, 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 very interesting. So the part-time aspect of it just was tough, And so I continued to seek out full-time work, and I was able to get hired on with the Commonwealth of Virginia as a probation and parole officer. And after I did that, I was there, a few years, and I suddenly realized, gosh, my intuition is so much more than just this little piece of me. Mm-hmm. It's so much more than I've given myself permission to be. And I realized that I was not able to have the conversations with my probationers at the time that I really wanted to. I'm a state employee, state spirituality, not such a good match. And that made me really be introspective. Like, am I being effective? Am I really doing the work that I'm meant to do if I can't have these conversations with these individuals that I know are struggling, that I know, have been diagnosed paranoid schizophrenic, and, the last year of my time as a probation officer was as I had the mental health caseload. And so there's a lot of interesting spiritual aspects to that. They've been, they're medicated, not medicated, self-medicated, diagnosed, undiagnosed, self-diagnosed. Right. and so it's just, there came a point where I said, I don't think this is the right place for me, because I can't fully involve my intuition.
There had to have been like a aha moment when that came. You said there came a point.
Yeah.
What was that? What made you go over the edge, give you that push to say, this is not where I am meant to be, not where I can help the people the most?
Right.
What was that? What's that moment?
There was one client in particular, and he walked into my door of my office, and I knew from, his intake and all of the information about him that he was a diagnosed paranoid schizophrenic, and he was self-medicating with heroin because they hadn't yet gotten his meds right, and he was really struggling. And you could see it on his face. It was just, he was struggling so much, and he just couldn't make a way in this world. And the moment he walked in the door, I immediately sensed and felt the spirits that were with him.
Oh.
And so I was like, oh, they've diagnosed you as schizophrenic because you have all these spirits around you talking to you, and you can hear them. But you've been given no guidance on how to embrace that, how to communicate with these spirits, and how to make it, a very amicable experience and not, freak you out.
Right.
I mean, of course the heroin didn't help, but
of course not. No.
But it was that moment when I saw and felt those spirits come into my office, and he was there, and I just desperately wanted to have that conversation with him. Like, there's another way.
There absolutely is. Yeah. And so you couldn't have that, though, because of the state spiritual. I get that.
Oh, yeah, no way. Well, I've been fired on the spot.
Yeah, absolutely. So where are you focusing your passion now, or what's going on with that?
Yeah. So my biggest passion right now is actually other entrepreneurs who are intuitive that really are finding themselves in a stuck place.
Okay.
Meaning they're undervaluing their gifts. They're underrepresented. They're, again, undervalued. They struggle with that imposter syndrome. They struggle with self-worth. They struggle with confidence. Oftentimes when we deal with our intuition, it can feel like it comes in waves, right? Mm-hmm. You're like, oh yeah, I'm super connected today. This is awesome. It's fantastic. I feel great. And then the next day or two, you're just like, whoa.
What happened to the end?
I feel like I'm in a slump. What's going on? I don't feel connected. And so it's the consistency that I love to support other intuitive entrepreneurs with. And so because I didn't get that support growing up, and I didn't, I found out later, my great-grandmother and my great aunt would travel to Lilydale in New York, which is a huge spiritualist community. And spiritualists believe in the afterlife and mediumship. Mm-hmm. And they would go every summer. I had no idea.
Wow.
They'd go every summer. And then I found out, oh, by the way, yeah, my mom, she's an incredible medium. Incredible. And I feel like it frightened her, or she wasn't sure how to embrace that. Okay. And so we didn't get an opportunity to have those conversations.
Oh, that's...
And I mean, we talk about it now,
yeah.
But it's challenging. So I don't want any other person who's wanting to bring their intuition to the forefront to struggle for support or validation or feel like they can't grow.
And I'm thinking our listeners might not understand fully what an intuition development coach exactly is. Can you kind of explain what you do and how it might differ from any other coaching that's out there?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So as an intuition development coach, my focus really is helping folks tap into their intuition. I always say intuition is like fingerprints. Mm-hmm. We all have them. We all have similar elements in our fingerprints, mm-hmm. but all of our fingerprints are different. Okay. So it's like intuition is that way where we all have intuition. All of us have varying degrees of connectivity to that intuition. And the way in which we connect is unique to each individual. And so I help folks learn what their unique version, their unique skill and gift is in their intuition, and develop that so that they can consistently and confidently, with clarity, tap in at every decision.
So is there different areas of intuition that there are out there that you would help somebody tap into? Mm-hmm. I'm just going to go with the sense, smell or something like that. Mm-hmm. So how would you find that in someone in particular?
Usually when someone comes to me, they have some idea about how they've been getting the information. Oftentimes, most people will just say, no, I don't know, I just know it. Or it just came to me, right? It just, just pops in my head. Mm-hmm. And so oftentimes that can be claircognizance, which is clear knowing, or clairvoyance, where it's clear seeing, like in your mind's eye.
Okay.
I always use an example with my clients. If I say to you, think of a bright pink elephant with red toenail polish and a yellow bow on its tail. Mm-hmm. So you have that image?
I do.
Yeah. So that's the exact same place where we receive clairvoyant information as an intuitive.
Okay.
Right. It's that same space.
So you're using your intuition to help them find their intuition to help find clarity, confidence, and purpose and speaking.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I think I've got it.
Yeah. And then I help them also grow their business, because oftentimes when I'm dealing with intuitive entrepreneurs, they've sort of reached a plateau.
Okay.
In their gifts. And they want to grow more. They want to do more. They want to make this leap, but they're terrified.
Okay.
They're like, I've done really good so far. I feel like I have a handle on my intuition. I feel like I'm offering what I'm supposed to be offering. But they're like, there's this other thing I really want to do, but I'm terrified. And so we help work through that.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, as you look, I can tell you have a passion for this.
I do.
What do you love most about working with your folks to help connect with their intuition? What's your favorite part about it?
Really, it is my clients' aha moments where
Can you tell us one of them? You don't have to give names, or you can just...
Yeah, let's see. Well, I have had clients where they'll say, I'll be talking to them, because often what happens is I don't remember what it is I say because it's almost like a channeling.
Got it.
Right? And so it doesn't come from me. It's not of me. It just comes through me. That's how I describe it to them.
Okay.
And so I always tell them, take notes. Yeah, take notes. And so I had a client actually recently who came up to me and was like, do you remember that thing you told me about my business and I was supposed to travel and do this thing and da-da-da-da? And I look at them and no. But I'm so glad that, like, you remembered.
Right.
And she said, everything came true. Everything. The timeline that you told me that when it was supposed to happen, who was involved, when it happened, and, what the outcome was. And I was like, okay, cool. That's excellent, And, I've had other clients where I have had other clients who work with animals and other people.
So you don't just work with businesses, you work with individuals as well?
Yeah, usually they're solo entrepreneurs.
Okay.
Usually.
Okay.
Yeah, and because that's typically the business model, when you're looking at like healers and intuitives and that kind of thing.
Got it. All right. So you have a new creation.
Yes.
An affirmation deck and journal.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about them and how we could use them? Like, maybe not just as business owners, but as regular individuals?
Yes, I would love to. So as it often happens, I just got this thought and I was like, you need to create a deck. And I was, no. It's like I'm answering that voice in my head. No, I'm not doing that. It's too much work. I don't know how to do it. All of the doubt. Mm-hmm. And they're like, nope, grab a piece of paper and a pen. Okay. I've gotten used to those sort of directions, right? When I get them. And so I did. And I grabbed a piece of paper and a pen and I just began to write. And I came up with over 150 affirmations.
Wow.
And I looked at all of them and I thought, oh, okay. That's a lot. That's too many cards. People won't want to hold them in their hands. It's too big of a deck, right?
Create 2 decks.
Well, yeah, good.
Just saying.
Absolutely. And so then I just began to go through the list and, ask this one or that one, this one or that one. Just weed them out, for the purpose of the deck. And I also got the title, You Aren't That Weird, affirmation deck and journal, because you know what? Having been around other intuitives most of my life, and now, almost every day I'm around other intuitives, we're not that weird. There are more of us than you think,
I think more people out there have their intuition. They just don't know what it is.
Yes. And they don't know what to call it or what to do with it.
Exactly. So I don't think, I think everyone has some intuition in them.
I agree.
And I think that they just go with it and they don't really try to hone it, or they just said, oh, and that's why it flip-flops and goes up and down. I think everybody has that, but no, we're not weird at all.
Nope. We're actually the normal ones.
Yes. It's the ones that don't have the intuition that kind of creep me out. No.
And so I titled the deck and the journal, You Aren't That Weird. Mm-hmm. And so the affirmation deck, you can use them as an affirmation. Like, let's say you shuffle the deck and you do you fan them out over the table, and then you just choose the card that you're most drawn to. Mm-hmm. If you haven't yet tapped into what energy feels like or anything like that, then you just go with what you're drawn to. You know, if you're like, oh, well, I usually pick things that are on my left side or however, then do that. Pick one, and then that would be your affirmation for the day or the week or however long you want. It's your choice. And the journal has over 100 affirmations. So those leftover affirmations that I was like, oh, no, I'm not going to create a card for that, we put in the journal. And so they get an opportunity to really look at these affirmations, and then there's an additional phrase or sentence under them to kind of elicit more thought and get them to be able to journal about them. And so you can use them that way, or I have a friend who bought my deck and she swears by it. She uses it after, she is a reader, and she uses Lenormand cards.
Okay.
Developed eons ago in France by, I can't remember her first name. I think it was Marie de Lenormand. I don't know. Anyway, I butchered that. But she uses my deck as, quote unquote, like a finisher. So oftentimes her readings can be really straight to the point and kind of like, you know, bossy. And then I know. And then she'll grab my deck at the end and she'll use that and have them pull cards from that deck. And then it just affirms what they had already gotten in the other cards. And so it can also be used as an oracle deck. Oh. Yeah. Yeah. And so I've been doing these really fun videos on TikTok and YouTube about.
I saw some of those.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was on there last night.
Scrolling.
Yeah. That can get addictive.
It can.
So.
It can. Well, because they're short and you're just like, woo. So I've been going through some of the cards and giving more in-depth description about each one so that folks will have an idea
of what it means or could mean for them.
Yes.
Not that it means a specific thing, because it means what it means to you on that day.
Correct. And then and of course I have a class coming up.
We'll be talking about that. Yes, absolutely. And as we're on a journal is kind of like a book.
Yes. It is a book. It's a book format.
It's a book format. And you have a #1 best-selling book called The Confidence of Yes and How to Harness the Energy of Opportunity.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that book and what inspired you to write that?
Yes. It was actually an anthology book, or is an anthology book, which means I collaborate with other female authors and their stories about how they embrace the confidence of yes. And so in my chapter, I talk about embracing my confidence as an intuitive being, even in the face of discrimination and bullying. And we're not talking about this when I was 13.
Right.
We're talking about this was last year. So this still happens even now in our society. There are, folks have strong feelings about things. Of course, we all do.
And that's okay to have the strong feelings.
Totally.
Yes.
But when you start bullying people and calling people names, it was really an opportunity for me to share that story that, you know what, I see you. I see that you may be struggling and you're also being bullied. I'm a 50-year-old woman. I'm getting bullied? Really? I mean, it's like, come on. I thought I left that way behind.
Thought that was high school thing.
Right. And So it's there's wonderful stories about how these other fantastic entrepreneurial women have embraced their confidence and how they have harnessed their yes to really work in their lives. It was a wonderful project. I loved it.
That's wonderful. And are there any other books you'd like to talk about?
Yes.
All right. Because I know you've not just written one.
Right.
You've written two.
I have.
Okay. Like I said, there's nothing you can't do.
Okay. I'll go with that. So back to as a probation officer.
Okay.
Yeah. And I had that aha moment with that one probationer. Mm-hmm. And I said, this is to my wife. I said, I don't think I can do this anymore. I don't feel like I'm being effective. I feel like I've lost the passion because I can't share all of the parts of who I am or help people in a way that I feel like they need in addition to,
Right.
normal probation.
Yes.
And I said, I think I want to quit. And she goes, what are you going to do? And
The normal response. It seems like that's like the instant response.
yeah, like, what are you going to do? Like, you're going to get another job? And I thought, I'm going to write a book. She said, what?
Yeah.
She said, about what? And I said, about my life. Oh, she said.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. And so I left probation and wrote my first book. So it's Breaking Free from Probation Officer to Psychic Medium. And so it goes back into my story and seeing spirit when I was really young and how that has progressed through the years.
Excellent. All right. Well, all of this is very interesting, and I can't wait to ask a few more questions, and we're going to be right back in just a moment. If you are just tuning in, you are listening to Connecting Tucson with Jaime, where we focus on connecting our community, local businesses, and organizations to help our community grow and thrive. As your local insurance professional, I can help you with all of your insurance needs, from home, auto, business, life, and so much more. If you're a small business owner or involved in a community project and you'd like to be featured on this show, please feel free to give me a call. All of my information is on the Tucson Business Channel or clicking on Connecting Tucson with Jaime. I would love to hear from you. Right now, we're talking with Christi Ahl, an intuition development coach, speaker, and a #1 international bestseller author. Christi, what has been the most difficult thing about your work as a psychic medium?
The most difficult thing, setting boundaries.
Ooh. Meaning?
Ooh, it's layered. It is setting boundaries with spirit. So this is humans who have passed away, and also setting boundaries with the living. So non-living, living. It's most challenging when I come against a spirit that is in your face, let's just say. Disregards all boundaries. For example, one of the big ones that I remember was there was this man, and I learned later that he was attached through my family line.
Oh, okay.
Like an ancestor, like way, way back when. But the issue that I had with him is that he wouldn't listen. He would wake me up yelling and screaming in my face like this at 3 a.m.
Ooh.
And that was not okay for me. And I lost it. I was working full time as a probation and parole officer. Okay. I was doing my intuition business on the side. And here I am, 3 o'clock in the morning for weeks. The spirit is waking me up, yelling and screaming in my face. You need help. I need help. And just like at the top of his lungs and just inches from my face. And so it was very challenging because not only did I feel like I wanted to help, but at the same time, I got really angry and said, this isn't okay. And so I literally went into my bedroom. This was midday, like the next day. And when I had just had it, I was done. And I went in there and I just did it like a power pose, And I was like, you are not going to yell at me at 3 a.m. anymore. If you want help, you need to come during my time. And I literally set business hours with spirit. I said, you can only come between 10 and 6. That's it.
Nice.
And so...
Did it work?
It did.
Okay.
It did.
That's the main question.
He stopped.
That's great.
And he's like, okay, I'll come back. And he did.
Nice.
So, yeah, that's the hard part. Boundaries is the biggest thing. And it's just learning it with like boundaries with your clients, boundaries with coworkers, other intuitives, and then boundaries with spirit and that kind of thing.
Now, I've always wanted to ask, what is the difference between a medium, a psychic, and a channel?
That's a good one. I think people get really confused, because of how the media maybe portrays other people, you know? So a medium is someone who connects to the non-living.
Okay.
Okay, that's pretty easy. But a medium can also connect to non-living animals.
Okay.
So pets that have passed on can come through and give little messages, which is really sweet. I love that. That I've had readings where that's been peppered in, you know, and I'll feel a cattail wind around my legs, you know, that kind of thing.
Right.
It's really cool. A psychic is someone who can tap into a living's energy and also employ the guidance of that readers, we'll say, that reader's guides and also the guides of the person that they are reading.
Okay.
So you're tapping into their physical energy. Maybe they have some health issues. Maybe they have mental health issues. And then they're able to connect to their higher self and deliver those messages.
Okay.
A channel is someone who channels divine consciousness, or what we could call God, the universe, source, whatever name you attach to that higher power that exists outside of ourselves. And so the channel is able to basically open themselves up and allow that information to flow through them.
Okay. Interesting. So I'm assuming, have you ever encountered, I guess, any misconceptions about what you do, either from the community or some clients that you've encountered?
Yeah. The first thing, you know, it's so funny. I have a quick funny story.
Okay.
This happens often, and it must be how people think like psychic mediums work. I had this woman come up to our house and just knocking on the door like crazy, and I thought, we were in Virginia at the time, and I thought, who are you? And we lived on 2 acres. We didn't live on a like neighborhood.
Like, why are you on my property?
Why are you here?
Yeah.
Banging on my front door and peeking in my window? That's not okay. And turns out she used to live in the home.
Oh.
Before, you know, a long time ago. And, you know, it was a small town feel. And so people talk to other people. And then she said, oh, I heard you're, you know, one of those. I said, one of what? One of what?
There's a lot that can go into.
And she said, you know, somebody who can read energy. And I said, well, yeah, I can. And she instantly snatched my hands up. And I was like, oh, okay, this is happening. And she said, what do you feel? All wide-eyed looking at me. And I was like, I can feel you're grabbing my hands really tight, and I think you need to let go. Yeah. That's what I feel. So there's this idea that as intuitive beings, as psychic mediums and channels, that we are constantly open, that we are constantly reading every single person and event that we come across.
Like 24/7?
That's the thought. That's the misconception.
That would be exhausting.
Exactly. That's the misconception about it all.
Okay.
You know, is that
I never thought about that misconception.
Yeah, we're open all 24/7. And, you know, I've had people come up to me, oh, what do you do? Da, da, da. And I said, oh, you know, psychic medium, intuition development coach, you know, give them my intro. And they'll say, oh, well, just don't read me. And I'm like, I don't want to.
For that response, no thank you.
Yeah, I don't want to. And for me, I feel like it's unethical.
Yeah.
I would not just run around dipping into other people's energy just for fun.
Yeah.
No, thank you. So.
No. Now, I know we spoke a little bit about what you do for group speaking. And why don't you tell us what, if somebody wanted to hire as a group speaker, what type of areas would they want to hire you for?
Yes, that's one of the newer developments that I've been working on, and I'm very excited about it. So I have been working on this speech and delivery. It is part of my passion, and it is tentatively titled The Unburdened Entrepreneur.
Ooh.
And it's really, that one is geared towards entrepreneurs that may not have a direct, obvious connection to their intuition, but that through that speech and or workshop, they are tuned into, they have realizations that they have the ability to tap into their intuition. And so I discuss key points about it, what it is, how they can use it in their business to make better financial decisions, better hiring decisions, better organizational decisions.
I'm going to need that one.
As an entrepreneur, yeah. And then so that's really exciting to me because I always love to I always love to interact with people that are doubtful that they have this gift of intuition. And I thought, we all do.
Excellent. So that's a rather new development.
It is, because prior to that, it's really just been about dealing with other entrepreneurs that are already tapped into intuition. And so that's the second half of the speaking part, which is the unburdened intuitive entrepreneur.
Okay.
So we help to unburden them of that self-doubt. And this is true for both groups.
Okay.
Unburden themselves of self-doubt, crazy external expectations, all the mental chatter that happens, just to support their growth in their business as well as their intuition.
Okay. So how many in the group, or what type of groups are you looking for to maybe move forward with that new process?
Oh gosh, as many as possible.
Is there a specific area that you'd be focusing on here locally to start?
Yes.
Okay. So
yeah, it would be locally to start. Yes.
Okay.
And also open to doing it digitally. So if they wanted to reach out and have me speak on it via Zoom or some platform like that, I'm absolutely open to that if they are not local. So if it is local, yeah, I'm open to any size group.
So you also do classes.
I do.
Okay, so that it's not like you've not just done group speaking before.
Correct.
And do you have any that might be coming up that you want to talk about?
I do. I have, so we talked about my deck and journal. Mm-hmm. So I have developed a webinar, basically. I want to keep it online because not all of my clients exist here in Tucson.
Right.
So I have other clients that, I have in Phoenix and Yuma, and then also across the nation, DC, Maryland, Virginia, all of that. And so I created the Deck and Journal Accelerator.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And it's an opportunity to dive deeper into how to use the deck and the journal to benefit their intuitive connection. Mm-hmm. And that is going to be on September 30th from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. That's Arizona time. Mm-hmm. And it will be via Zoom. So it's on my Facebook page and my website and all of that.
So if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, what would be the best way to do that?
The easiest way would be to go through my website.
Okay.
And or my email. Okay. So they're both connected.
Excellent. And they can book both individual and groups off of that website?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
So I just have one more question.
Yeah.
Is there anything we haven't spoken about that you'd like our listeners to know? Which I know is going to be a lot, but is there anything in particular?
I don't think there isn't anything that we haven't, like a topic we haven't spoken about, but I will say one thing that I always tell my clients.
Okay.
And it is, no matter what it is, you are worthy just by being born. You don't have to earn love. You don't have to earn intuition. You don't have to earn that good job and happiness and that fancy car. You are worthy just by being here.
And that is phenomenal. That is amazing. Again, thank you so much for coming on the show. You have been wonderful, enlightening, inspirational, and just a joy.
Thank you.
Well, that is all for Connecting Tucson with Jaime here at the Stewart Title Studios. If you like the show, just let us know. You can connect with Christi by going to her Instagram or Facebook or her website, like she just said, or you can click on the Tucson Business Channel, a division of Mark Bishop Media, and Connecting Tucson with Jaime. You'll find all of her information and links there that'll go directly to her. As always, don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone and make a new connection. You never know where it might lead. Until next time, Tucson, this is Jaime Overturf with Farmers Insurance. Keep on making unique connections.